What up? Welcome to Homegrown Hustle, where local brilliance takes the center stage. I'm your host, Matt Eichmann. Together, we're about to embark on an inspiring journey. Our community thrives on the wisdom of insightful leaders that are right here in our backyard. And we're bringing their expertise to your ears. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or simply seeking inspiration, this podcast is your guide. Join us every week in celebrating innovation, guidance, and the power to inspire greatness. Let's explore the stories that shape our local business landscape, and together, let's ignite the spark of excellence. What's up, hustlers? I'm here with Andrew Lindholm, the CEO of Tim's Quality Plumbing, 44-year-old company, second generation, a lot of history and legacy that we're going to be talking about here today. Andrew, thank you so much for coming on. Super excited. We're going to fire it up right away. This is new. We're going to go rapid fire plumbing questions just to start. I don't have a lot of plumbing experience, nor am I a plumber. So we're going to fire this off. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Toilet or faucet? What's easier to fix?
Toilet.
Snake or plunger?
Oh, snake.
Call you first or YouTube it?
You know, either way works for me. Once you take it apart, you can call me then too. So I'm good with either one.
Does it decrease the cost at all? Or does it increase the cost once it's like in a bunch of parts?
That really depends on your mechanical skill. Okay. So whether you want to take the gamble or not, that's up to you.
All right. What's the worst thing you've pulled out of a drain?
A rat that filled the whole drain. A 4-inch pipe.
There's a little crossover here. What tool do you always carry?
I always have a channel locks.
Channel smart. Do you have it right now?
I don't.
One thing you wish every homeowner knew before calling a plumber.
It's not as bad as you think it's going to be. We're going to respect your property and take good care of you.
What's the most annoying plumbing sound?
The most annoying plumbing sound is probably when pipes aren't secured in the walls and you turn the faucet on and you get a thud, or usually it's actually when you turn the faucet off.
A thud's not good.
It's like banging in the walls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get called for stuff like that sometimes.
Yeah. They think it's a pest.
Yes. You ever seen someone try to fix a leak with duct tape?
Yes.
Probably daily.
Oh yeah.
It does work sometimes. Speaking from experience. Well, that's one plumbing myth you wish would go away. These are all great questions.
These are great questions. I would say one plumbing myth is kind of wrapping back into when you call a plumber that we're just here to help you. We're not here to make any extra problems for you or anything like that. We're just here to help. We like to make people's day.
And then right there, that's 40 years of plumbing experience talking right there. Obviously, you didn't start it yourself, Andrew. There's got to be some history behind it. You want to kind of tell everybody a little bit about who you are? I feel like there should be a round of applause in the video here for how well you just did. But introduce yourself, talk about the business a little bit, and kind of get us to where you're at right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So my dad, the famous Tim, he started the company back in the early 80s. And at that point, he was just doing drain cleaning. You don't need a license for drain cleaning, so it's an easier point of entry. He had just a pickup truck with a topper and a drain machine. And he had my mom working in the office in our little house in Crystal. And from there, ended up doing pretty well, started hiring some people, actually hired a master plumber so that we could get into plumbing work. Then he went through the whole process himself and continued to grow the business. We've been kind of in the Osseo Maple Grove area forever, had a few different shops there. We've been in our existing spot for about 10 years now. And now we've got about 15 employees, call center, apprentices, plumbing and drain techs, and now introducing heating and cooling to the business as well.
Which is, I'm super excited about that for you because of the 40 years of customer experiences that you have leading up to now. Like, it should be a really easy intro for that. So we'll put that in the corner for right now. Let's talk a little bit about kind of your experience with the business, because you're young. You're only 31. Yeah. So 31, CEO of a pretty large plumbing company, right? Like that's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot. Yeah. And not to mention, like you're trying to carry this legacy on that. Like you have this new baton, right? And you're carrying it forward. So tell us a little bit about like your
entry into the business? Because from what I understand, plumbing was backup for you, right? Like,
yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your personal journey into the business.
Yeah, absolutely. So like at a super young age, my first memory of plumbing, I was helping my dad. I would run service calls with him. And to date myself a little bit, we had the old map books. So I learned how to read those at like 5-6 years old. But I think I was like
you were
4.
Siri before Siri.
yeah, exactly. Dad would be like, "Hey Andrew, take me to whatever address."
Me, son.
Yeah. Yep. But like one of my first memories, we went to a call. We were fixing an outside faucet for somebody. So dad's bent over working on the faucet. I'm just standing there, being a mascot or whatever.
Yeah.
And I noticed a problem. So I'm trying to get his attention. And he's like, not now. I'm busy. And I'm like, okay. And also the customer's standing right behind us. And so I kind of tap his shoulder again and no, I'm busy right now. And finally I just said, "Dad, plumber's crack." So that was
like, just dead giveaway, Dad.
Yep. And then I got his attention real quick. I had to pull the pants up and continue the job. But that was kind of how I grew up, whatever he was doing.
Sounds like you're bringing a ton of value to the company at a young age. That's what I heard.
I'll take it for sure. And at that point, my dad was still working in the field doing calls, and I would go with him. And a little bit later on in life, kind of a little roundabout another story here. But when I wanted to get into snowmobile racing, Dad was like, "Well, how are we going to pay for it?" So I said, "Oh, what do you need me to do?" And so he bid out a remodel job for us. And so him and I did that job. And that job is what bought my first race sled so I could get into racing.
So that sounds like a really good learning opportunity.
Yeah.
About like what the business can do.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? I know your father's passed, rest in peace, and that kind of sucks for the transition, right? But are there things that you kind of learned growing up, like in the business, like you did, that maybe not like business fundamentals, but like just customer experience or like how to handle the team that you still use now?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. I mean, he definitely lived and breathed it and went through a lot of the tough times that I don't have to now. But I still did get to see a lot of it. There was a lot of nights that he's working at the kitchen table, answering the after hours calls, just kind of doing everything. And there was a certain point in my life where I had some resentment about that. And I was like, gosh, I don't ever want to do that.
Like 15 to 18.
Yeah, dude, exactly.
You know what, dude? Exactly. Not just you. We all had resentment.
We probably all did. And there was a point where I was like, you know what? No matter what I do, I'm never going to be involved in something like this. And of course, here I am. It's a little different now, but
so let's talk about the snowmobile racing industry a little bit. This is the first time it's come up on the podcast, for the record. So
sure.
You're a pro snowmobile racer. Is that the term? Is that what you
pro snowcross racer?
Snowcross, way more cooler.
Yeah.
So you started doing this. How old were you?
The first time I ever raced, I was like between 10 and 12, probably.
Who are you hanging out with that like even helped you know this was a thing? I didn't know it was even on the table until like pretty much 25 minutes ago.
Yeah. So my dad was always into snowmobiles.
Okay.
And he didn't race or anything like that. But we had snowmobiles growing up, and I just wanted to go fast, like Ricky Bobby, I guess. And so he got me the sanctioning body for the racing circuit. You could be a fan. And so he bought me the fan package that had some VHS videos of snowcross racing.
Oh, you wore those bad boys out.
Oh,
probably.
Dude, I wore those things out. I had the t-shirt, I had the hat, and I watched that stuff over and over. And I believed that I could crush it doing that. Right. And so as soon as I saw that, and like at that time, snowcross was in X Games. So you'd see it on TV once in a while. There might be something on ESPN late at night. You'd catch some highlights or something. And I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And I wanted to do it.
For me, that was baseball. I feel like mine was more mainstream than yours. So like snowmobile racing. So that's a high level of competitiveness that you have. Outside of that, like, how did snowmobile racing kind of shape your mindset that you have now within your business?
I would say a lot of it is just like the grit and perseverance that you have to have. Snowcross, most people think of a snowmobile and they think you sit on it and
try not to hit a tree. That's what I think.
Yep.
Like you go fast, try not to hit things.
Yeah. Yeah. But snowcross specifically, like most people are probably more familiar with motocross. There's jumps and all kinds of stuff, and it's kind of made to be a show. And snowcross is like that as well. It's not super high speed. There's deep holes and jumps and whatever.
You're not like ripping at 100.
No. The fastest we ever go is like 60.
You break anything?
Yeah.
What's the most broken bone in a snowmobiler's?
A lot of broken legs, like hard impacts.
Is there a career-ending injury, like the thumb injury? Is that one that like you're out of here?
I haven't heard of anybody.
I know we're kind of going on a tangent here, but I have so many questions.
It's fun. Yeah, let's do it.
So what about, is there any like team element to snowmobile racing?
A very small element. Like once you get to a level where you're racing with a team, you've got mechanics, you got a crew chief, you've got that side of it. But as far as like a competitive race where maybe you switch sleds and you're on the same team, there's nothing like that.
Did you get to that? Did you ever get to like that level?
Yeah.
So you're pretty good.
I was okay. I was just
probably
good enough.
The best snowmobiler I know. Are there any lessons that, like from the team standpoint, that you utilize in business?
Yeah, I would say so. Like in that kind of team atmosphere, leadership's a big deal. Knowing where we're going, knowing what the standards are, what's acceptable, stuff like that. A lot of peer pressure. And when you are on a race team that's spending thousands and thousands of dollars for you to go out and perform, you got to make sure that you're doing the work and that you're doing everything you can to make the team look good and, build
make
that
the
up.
Sponsors happy and all that
exactly.
stuff. So it's a totally different dynamic. You're not like selling tickets or anything like that. You want to be good so people want to put their logo on you.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
So what's harder then? Because I don't know anybody who's had the snowmobiling experience. So is it more difficult to lead a team or rip a snowmobile at 70 miles an hour?
That's a super good question. I would say at this point in my life, facing the challenges of leading a team feels harder right now. If you told me that while I was racing and trying to get to that top level, that was very, very hard too. And I never got to the top level.
Yeah.
I got to where I didn't have to pay to race.
You're still young though. So.
Yeah, right.
But your focus has shifted. So you've really only been working in your role for like 3 years, right?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what you've had to learn, because that's like an injection into like it's immersion into business ownership and leadership, when that like you didn't have a slow transition from what it sounds like. You kind of just
Not really. Yeah, it kind of happened. I mean, so my dad had a long battle with cancer, but in his mind, he was going to live forever. He was absolutely determined. So succession planning, stuff like that wasn't really on his radar. There would be times where he would get sick and I would just kind of step in and try to make sure that whatever was needed to be done was done. So there was definitely ups and downs that way, and I could kind of see what was coming. But from his perspective, he was a fighter, and I got to give him credit for it. They initially told him he had 18 months and he made it 9 years. So even just learning from that experience and that you just don't give up and keep pushing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the transition and immersion into just being the guy. And it's not like, hey, if I have one of our techs or employees ask a question, or a customer even, there's no phone call to dad kind of for that backup, right? Like I've got to make that decision. And that's definitely been something that has been tough. It's you learn a lot about yourself and a lot of personal growth. and leading a team, that personal growth affects so much of it too.
Well, and that's such like my experience coming in and taking over a business that's had success for an extended period of time. It's easy when it's just like a couple people, like it was for me. There's a team that you're coming in and you're this hotshot professional snowmobiler, right? I'm just picturing like a Ryan Sheckler vibe walking in, like I'm in charge now. So tell me a little bit about like what you had to think through to effectively like come in and transition. Cause it's kind of on the heels of a shitty scenario.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And morale within the company, like that's important for your guys to go out there and have success and make sure that like they feel like there's a future here.
Yeah.
But it's not defined. Now you get to like kind of create that picture, which is a really unique scenario as a second generation owner to be in. So do you want to talk a little bit about that and kind of how you think about it in context with your team and everything?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, going into it or, even getting to the point where we kind of knew where my dad's at and where that's going, there was certainly a lot of questions of what are you going to do? Are you going to take this thing over? Are you going to sell?
All the private equity coming into the space nowadays.
Yep. It would have been super easy for us to just say, no, we're going to sell out and be done with it. My mom and I kind of had a conversation and she didn't want to do it. She didn't want to continue to do it if I wasn't involved. And I had looked at it as an opportunity as well. It got real really quickly.
Yeah.
And a lot of the employees remember me from being a little kid. So to change that perspective and for them to look to me as a leader,
what a dynamic!
It's tough, right? And I got to say, most of them totally embraced it, and especially once a little bit of time passed, and they could see that we weren't just kind of flushing everything down the drain to. No pun intended. Right? But I think my dad kind of instilled in me that you did want to carry yourself a certain way and not be some douchebag kid coming in and acting a certain way, especially around a customer or employees. So I think that probably helped. He kind of, without trying to, I think, sort of groom me for it in a sense. And overall, especially like the first year was really tough because it's like, just don't screw it up. It's running.
That's in the back of your mind though, right? Like you're coming in something that's had success and now you're responsible for it. I know same thing for me. Yeah. Like I was almost running from, I don't want to mess this up.
Yes.
Do you still feel that now once you're kind of through it a little bit, or is there
less so? There's still certain things that I struggle with. And it's kind of funny because like as a racer, I had no cares. Like I was pretty much checker or wrecker, like I'm going to win or I'm going to die trying. And it didn't feel like it mattered that much. Where within business, now I'm thinking about all the families that rely on our business continuing to run for employment and all that. So it's a totally different mentality. And I'm still working to find my stride in that sense and not be afraid to change things and take some risks. Which I feel like we're getting to that point now. Like I said, the first year was really tough. It was just like, okay, don't rock the boat too much.
Well, and a little bit like going through a year cycle of being there and seeing what happens throughout the year. Like around Christmas, like do customers behave differently? Do my employees, like things like that
for sure
happen, but you maybe don't notice until it impacts you in a certain way or it impacts the business in a certain way. So like it's hard to come in and make all those changes year one, but the pressure of taking over the responsibility, I personally feel like within like home service industries and like generational companies, that is just not talked about enough. And there's a lot of people that go through that.
Yeah.
And it either ends up really, really ugly where both parties like want it, but they don't actually talk about it or agree on anything. And now there's just battle and strife in the family.
For sure.
Or else it like never happens at all. And then now, okay, Dad, what's the plan? Or Mom, what's the plan? And do you find yourself in either one of those kind of categories?
Yeah, that's a great question. My dad was always very confident in me. and always just kind of believed I could figure anything out. I remember there was a point where probably within the last 6 months before he passed, and I brought him a notebook because I'm like, Dad, I know there's going to be stuff that I need to know that's in your head and nobody else's head. And I just like begged him. I'm like, give me a voice note on your phone, anything. And I got absolutely nothing.
Thanks.
And he just said, you'll figure it out. And I think part of it was him thinking like, it's important for me to go through certain struggles to be able to be a good leader in a certain sense. And like you said, there's so many situations where that second generation really doesn't know the struggles, doesn't handle it well, and it goes really bad. And I think the minority in that is the second generation that can take it to the next level. And that's definitely what I want to be and what I strive to be every day. But yeah, it like you said, nobody really talks about it. It's kind of like that. Why do
you think that is? Like, I have my own theory. I have no problem talking about it. Yeah. Because I went through it myself, but there's people that are going through it every single day.
For sure.
And there's so much emotion wrapped up in it. Like, and usually you don't have a lot of friends that are in a scenario like that. So where's the resource to even hear or learn or like get thoughts around it? Like, I haven't found any other than somebody asking me about it, and now there being some type of exchange there. Yeah. So for you, did you ever do you really think about that part of it at all? Like zooming out from your scenario? Because it's hard to do. Yeah, I definitely do at times. I feel like part of it is people just not wanting to be vulnerable and talk about things that don't make you look good. That don't make you look tough. Especially or whatever. In the older generation.
Oh yeah. And trades industry, blue collar type stuff, it's just figure it out, pull you up by your bootstraps and make it happen. It's
maybe not the healthiest way to do it.
It might not be. Yeah.
But you're having success. You're currently working, like you're one of the owners there. You've got multiple family members in there. Like, what are the good parts about family business that people don't talk about? Because everywhere I go, everyone says never, ever do this. And I love working with my brothers every single day. Yeah. Like, it's the coolest thing to be able to build something with the people that you love the most.
Yeah. No, I'm in 100% agreement. I love it. Yeah, there's times where it's a little tricky, right? And it can be tough to talk to your siblings the way that you would talk to another employee or a business partner or whatever. In a certain sense, it's all I know. And I'm sure there's ugly sides to a family business as well. To me, I think it's fun. I think it's exciting, and it's great to be able to share successes and put your heads together too when you're in tough times and come up with solutions for things. I think a lot of it is just how you handle yourself. How do you talk to people and show respect? And you still have to lead and make tough decisions at times, but it is super rewarding to be able to have successes that change the life of your family members too.
So I agree 1,000 billion% with that. My kids would say Googleplex, whatever the heck that is. But so when you're working with your family, have you guys like organized and defined a line? Like a lot of the small business owners I talk to, like they get to the point where they realize, hey, there's like subtleties and things that happen just because we grew up together that we don't realize that interfere with our work day. Sure. So my brothers and I had to like figure that out through bickering a bunch and disagreeing and like draw a line of work is work and we're going to talk about it there. And that's awesome. We love working together, but like we can't talk about it all the time. Yeah. Have you kind of gone through that?
I would say so. Yeah.
Is there something that triggered it, or is it? Because it sounds like you have a really healthy upbringing in a family home, which I think lends to a successful family business, right?
Yeah.
So maybe you guys just love each other more than money.
Could be. Yeah.
It's wild. It's wild.
Yeah. I mean, I think in general, we're all very conscientious of each other and wanting the best for everyone involved. And I would certainly extend that to our employees too, but there's something different when it's blood. Yeah. And for me, like every single day. I talk to my sisters. There is, like you kind of mentioned, we try our best to keep it within office hours.
Yeah.
And if we go out to dinner,
sometimes it spills over.
Yeah, it does. It does for sure. Especially if you got a big project you're excited about or whatever. But we try to just stop it with office hours. And if there's something that happens at work, we try not to let that affect a family event or whatever other interaction that you have. And, hopefully not talking about it too much on a Saturday or Sunday when everybody needs to disconnect and get a little bit of a breather. So I think that's been somewhat of a key and one that you learn the hard way to some extent. And I totally get how difficult that can be too, because a lot of the time you're immersed in it. That's all you even want to or know how to talk about. But there's plenty of other things going on in people's lives too. So I think having something that you kind of define of like, hey, this is our time to talk business. This is our time to talk about everything else going on. I think that helps a lot.
Yeah. And like, if just because somebody else can't turn it off, like you don't have to get mad because they can't turn it off. You can just, like, can we talk about it tomorrow?
Yeah, exactly.
But, like working through some of that, at least with me and my brothers, like, because we'll push each other's buttons. Like there's just like a dynamic that's there, and understanding that people actually, when you're working with them and it's their livelihood, like they behave differently than maybe you would expect them to not at work. That was a huge one for me. Like understanding that when I'm working with somebody, like there's a lot more going on than just our relationship. Yeah. But that's kind of the cooler part of the family business, is now you get to see people grow also. Yeah. And evolve.
Absolutely.
So for you right now in your business, I know there's a lot of private equity coming into the home industry space in general. So home services, regardless of what it is, there's PE firms all over the place that they've kind of set their eyes on whatever industry that is. I know we get calls all the time, private equity interested in Abracadabra. So what's it like in the plumbing space?
It's very similar. You could definitely group us into that.
Are there a lot of roll-ups that are happening like locally in the Twin Cities market?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of the companies you see on billboards have been bought, and maybe bought a couple times, like in the last 5 years.
The market itself locally, how many total licensed plumbers are there?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
Because the licensing here is kind of the barrier to entry into the space, right?
It definitely is. Yep. As far as like in the Twin Cities market, I'm gonna guess there's roughly 100 plumbing companies. It could be more than that.
Pretty small.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. In a certain sense, it is a very small world. Everybody you talk to in that industry either knows somebody, or you've crossed paths here and there.
Yeah. So the licensing, like it's there to protect the the customer and the process and code and all that. So I get it. I'm not disagreeing with that.
Right.
But it impacts the industry and like your job a lot more when you play it out and you look at the work pool, right? And you look at pricing or total number of leads that are even on the table in a market. And now there's 100 of you all competing for market share. Right. So when you have to go through 4 years, you guys have 4, we only have 2 for pest control before you can have a company. Sure. There's not a lot of new plumbing companies just popping up. Not a lot of new pest control companies just popping up. So it kind of controls the market a little bit, right? And then now we're kind of seeing the back end where generations have gone through, and now there's a need for more people in the work pool. There was a stat you said earlier. What was it? And I'm not sure what year this was, but it was relatively recent, like within the last 5 years. There was 5 licensed plumbers retiring for everyone getting into the trade. Which is crazy. Wild. So over time, there's an 80% decrease in the workforce, which we kind of need this one. Right. Like most people like running water and everything. So are there any changes that are happening there? Are there like big pushes for recruiting or like new programs that are popping up? Or like how's the industry combating that? Because that seems like that's bad for the the whole world if plumbing goes down. Like, we don't need that.
Right. I would say in a certain sense, the pendulum is starting to swing a little bit. Like 5 years ago when I would put up an ad, all I would get is like guys who are within a couple of years of retirement, just looking for somewhere to work for a couple of years before they can be done. And now I get a ton of young guys that are interested in learning the trade. The most difficult part of that for us is, as a service company, a lot of our jobs don't warrant having 2 people on the job. So, and through that process, to even be a licensed plumber that can go fix a faucet or a toilet by yourself, you're supposed to have that plumbing license. So that's a challenge. A lot of the time, there's some really good programs through like Dunwoody and some of the colleges that will put you on like remodel crews, new construction crews, where you can kind of hop in and learn and get the classroom hours and whatever you need to get licensed. The service side of it is a tough one, and that's something that we're working on right now. We've got a couple of apprentices that have joined us recently that are really excited. And happy to get into a trade like plumbing and can see kind of the potential that they can make a good life for their family doing it.
And like the fact that like disappeared off the table for our generation is really interesting to me. Yeah. I feel like it's probably like there's deeper things there, but I know that there's a level of like, we didn't recruit this generation effectively. We didn't communicate the potential that's here.
Yep.
So with this younger generation, like, what are the differences that you're seeing just in like work behavior? Because I think that it's fascinating to like see it play out.
Yeah. I mean, I would say the younger generation definitely, in a certain sense, has a better work-life balance, maybe. Like some of your older timers that are just used to working to the bone and nothing else matters. Family doesn't matter. Time off doesn't matter. In a certain sense, I think that actually is a positive thing, and these guys aren't going to burn out as much. And we try to facilitate that as much as possible. You know, if you need some extra time off, or we're not going to make you work 60 hours a week or anything like that. So overall, the current generation coming in is excited, and I think it's cool to see, in my opinion, like growing up. And I think I mentioned this earlier, but like when I graduated and I wanted to be a pro racer, right? But my backup is I'm going to be a plumber. And I always would get, are you sure you don't want to go to college, get a degree, get a desk job, whatever. And now when I tell people I'm a plumber, they're excited about it. And, oh yeah, that's awesome. We need more people in the trades. So I love it. I think
feel
that's
like
cool.
If I'm you, I'm leading with, I'm a former pro cross racer. Yeah, that, I don't know, but like plumbing, growing up outside of you, I feel like there's not a lot of people who have that in like it's on the list of shit I want to do when I grow up.
Right.
And I get that, because we want kids to think big and use their imagination and all that. But the fact of the matter is, there's so many things that, in order for existence of the human race to keep going with where we're at, like these things have to happen. Yeah. And if we don't have people to do those things, that's a major problem.
For sure.
So that creates great business opportunity.
It does.
Right?
Yeah.
How do you think about recruiting into the future then? Because I know you got to kind of set goals and figure out where the boat's really going, but we know we're going to need more people coming in. So other than recruiting other people, like what's the message that you tell to potential apprentices that are coming in? Like, why do they want to sign up for 4 years of learning before they can really start making money?
Yeah. To me, I think there is a lot higher job satisfaction in it than most people would realize. And it's actually super fun when you can go into somebody's house that is having a terrible day. They've got the house flooded. They got whatever problem,
toilet, whatever it is. Yeah,
exactly. And they're having the worst day. They had a cold shower this morning because the water heater went out. Whatever it is, and you're able to fix that problem for them and make a decent living doing it. And you walk out of so many houses, you feel so good about yourself, right? And like every once in a while, when I get back on a service call, I'm like, gosh, this is actually super fun. And, you're able to make somebody's day. And if you can really go above and beyond with your customer service, you could own that whole neighborhood because you made their day. and fix their problem, and they tell their neighbors about it and everything else. So I think that's probably the biggest thing is like people think of plumbing and they think of probably an old crusty guy with plumber's crack and a cigarette hanging out his mouth that just hauls pipe all day or deals with shit.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more to it than that. And there's so much you can do to...
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no. Just there's so much you can do to make people's day, even if it is kind of a shitty job at times.
Another good pun today, Andrew. That's 2 today. Heck yeah. So customer experience here. So it sounds like it's a lot like pest control where it's a oh shit scenario.
Yes.
It's third pun today, guys. So when people call, it's a high stress situation, right? They're calling and it's kind of an easy sale at that point. And now we're trying to like make sure from an emotional standpoint, we can get the customer in a state of mind where they understand what we're saying. Yeah. They know what the heck's going to happen to solve this problem.
Right.
So for you guys and your customer experience, like, what do you think about when you're delivering that and kind of building that process? How are you training that to your team?
The biggest thing to me is like talking to our team, even like some of the stuff I just said of like, just remember that they're in a tough spot. You know, they're super stressed out. The water's off, no hot water, the drain's backing up, whatever it is, the heat cooling doesn't work, and just being empathetic with that. And hey, it's not that bad. We can get this taken care of for you. You need to be up and running today. There is a solution. Yep. And just trying to bring that stress level down a little bit and get to know them a little bit. And that to me is a huge key.
So what's a typical call sound like? Customer calls in, like, give me an example. Let's role play it right now. Like what's going on?
A lot of it is a pipe leak of some sort. It's water spraying. I don't know what to do.
Can we prevent this stuff? Is there like...
Yes.
How?
Yes, we can. One of the things that has gotten more popular recently that's really cool is there's main water shutoffs which the main water is the main water coming in from the city or from your well or whatever, right? And we have a smart leak detection system that learns your habits, how much water you use, how much water each faucet uses when it turns on. And when something out of the ordinary happens, it'll shut the water off automatically. You get a notification on your phone. There are times where sometimes it might think that there's a leak and there's not, which big deal, right? Yeah. Hit the button, turn it back on. You don't even have to go downstairs to do it.
Tell Johnny to stop taking such a long shower.
Right. Exactly. So that's one of the major things that we can do. Another one that can get to be an emergency is like a sump pump failure. It's raining, power goes out, basement starts to flood.
These are kind of like the longer period of time between like when it starts happening and identifying that it's happening. The longer that is, the worse it gets.
Yep. Water damage and especially sewer water damage.
So how many of these jobs then are people like at their wits' end where they've given it a whack to try to fix it and like they're throwing up their hands?
We get a good amount of that. Somebody that hopped on YouTube, like we talked about earlier.
And you got to give it to them because at the end of the day, I love the ambition. Like plumbing, like working with a plumber, it's not something that somebody does a lot.
Right.
It's kind of the first time. So I know with us at Abracadabra, we get like a little desensitized to the fact that we're doing this 10, 12 times a day or a week or whatever. And we forget the customer's not in that. Yeah. They're not in that same state of mind.
For sure.
They've got poopy water everywhere. Yeah. And we need to get this out of here. And somebody's got to do it because I don't want to do it. Yeah. So there's a lot that's going on there, and making sure that the customer experience is defined in a way where you know that you have a repeatable process that customer ends up happy and loving Tim's Quality Plumbing, right? Right.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about building that type of process that's scalable when all that other stuff is going on.
Yeah. Yeah. I think another thing that we forget and is like, I even can think of for myself, I don't call people out to my house very often, right? So just the fact of bringing a stranger into your home, that can be a lot of stress all by itself without the water spraying and without anything else going on.
My wife's going to have to clean the house. Sure.
Right. Exactly. Clean the house before the cleaners come.
Yeah, that's what she does.
Yep. And so I think just making sure that we don't get too desensitized to that and understand that there are concerns and you know, for us, like we background check our technicians, we're training them constantly, and making sure that there's not going to be a problem when they come to your home. So many people are concerned about stuff like that. And you don't want to let just anybody into your home. That's your space. That's your sanctuary.
And it's currently being disturbed.
Right.
With the water we were talking about.
Yep. And then that big grizzly plumber we talked about earlier, he's got to come in and fix it, you know? So I think just making sure that we don't get desensitized to that is a big deal. And, you know, just getting in there and identifying the problem. And hey, even if it's a big problem, we can stop the loss. We can stop it from getting worse quite quickly. And then let's take a breather here and let's look at what a more long-term solution could be. You know, sometimes people don't want to put the money into it, don't have the money to put into it. And, you know, we can come up with a more Band-Aid type fix for those situations too. And for us, a lot of the process is just taking some time with the customer, evaluate what do you want? What's your end goal with this call? And are you looking for a long-term, no worries type of solution? Or is it like just get a quick fix and get out kind of thing? And I think most people, when they really think about it, want a long-term solution.
They just don't know how much it's going to cost.
And there's always anxiety about that too, right? Like you're not budgeting for those type of repairs. So I think just
kind of like squirrels, you don't budget for that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You're not thinking about what are we going to spend on that this year? It's usually kind of, you know, a demand call or an oh shit moment.
Yeah. So now from a sales cycle standpoint, do you have work like booked out then for your guys? Or are we talking like everything's turned around 24 to 48 hours? Like how's that work? Because I know for us, like customers not sitting around waiting for us. Like we gotta be out there. Otherwise we just paid for a lead that we can't even take care of.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you have that
very
same
similar for us? Yep. It's a
crazy thing to think through.
It's a crazy thing to think through. It's a crazy thing to try to staff for and be prepared for. You know, there's definitely, we do plenty of jobs that aren't water spraying. You know, there's a lot of times where people just want a new faucet. They want something prettier in their kitchen. They want something different. So for us, we just try to prioritize that stuff a little bit. The work that we can schedule out, we schedule out and try to leave some room for an emergency type situations every day because it does happen every day.
It's wild. I'm glad it doesn't happen at my house every day.
Yeah.
But that sense of urgency battles against a high close rate from a sales standpoint if you can't staff it. And then like if you're staffed for it and you can't fill it, now you've got a different problem. And that is the juggle of a business owner is like, what's too much work where everyone's stressed out and we can't take care of the customers and they're pissed off, and what's we don't have anything to do.
Right. Yeah.
Because there's a fine line there. But
definitely.
Like I don't even know how to think through that for you guys. Cause like for us, we've got a recurring model that's built in.
Yeah.
And for you guys, it's almost kind of like roofing, but smaller where it's, you got to get X amount of customers every year, every month. Like you got to make sure that's coming in. That seems exhausting.
Yeah. You could say that for sure. There's busy stressed and there's slow stressed.
Different stresses,
but both of them suck.
I like the first one more.
I'll take busy stressed any day. But yeah, they're both very real. And it's like you said, it's a constant juggle of, you know, making sure that we have enough people to take care of our customers and not pay for those leads that we can't get to, but also not being so overstaffed that people don't get work that day.
Yeah. Cause like you're looking at the two variables, new opportunities and hours my guys are out there. And there's a lot in between there, but we're trying to decrease this and maximize this as much as possible.
Yeah.
And the feedback loop with your employees is outside of the hours they work. There's not a lot of feedback you get from service guys usually. And then we got this whole other dynamic where we're in the service industry. We got blue collar guys like working with their hands.
Yeah.
And then you say the word sales. Right. And like now they're like, people turn off. Like, so what I've learned through being in like the service industry is there's kind of different personality profiles, right? And somebody who really their personality, they enjoy being a service technician. They freaking hate sales and they don't like the customer interaction.
Yeah.
But in reality, they might be the best sales guy you have because of their knowledge base.
Yeah.
But how they think about it becomes like the bottleneck for them. So within plumbing, is it a similar thought process around sales?
Yeah, very much so.
And why do you think that is?
That's a great question. I just think there's so much stigma around the idea of the slimy salesman. Like we can probably all think of a time where we feel like we were taken, you know, and you paid too much for something or you didn't get what you were promised. And I think that's probably a big part of it. And how we try to combat that within our company is we have a procedure that we follow. And hey, we're going to do an evaluation. We're going to show you whether you want to fix it or not. That's totally up to you. But we're going to show you the menu. We're going to build you some customized solutions. There's some things that might be way out of your budget right now, and that's fine. We don't really care which option you pick, but to me, where that kind of comes back is just create options for people and let them choose. And then, you know, do you want a longer warranty? Do you want an extended service plan where you don't have to think about it? If that's something that you value, we can give you that. If you're not in that place and you're just looking for the Band-Aid type fix, we can do that for you too, and try to just take the emotion out of it. And it's just like, here's the options. You pick what you pick, and I don't have to stress about it.
You have to, because those guys are driving their decisions in your business off of emotion.
For sure.
And that's like, it's a human nature, because what's happening is your employees are taking how they value money and how they think about money within their life. And they're saying, Mr. Customer, you think about it the same way.
Yeah.
And because of that, I will or will not include this in my proposal.
Right.
And then this need, which is their expertise. Like, I'm identifying this needs to happen, so I have to quote this for you.
Right.
That's less variable, but your opinion around money and that decision making, you don't get to make that decision for the customer, because they want you to not do that. I think that's kind of the slimy thing, where you think you know what's best for the customer, and now you're making decisions in their home where they're going to live. And that's more wrong, in my opinion, than any slimy salesman.
Yeah, I actually totally agree. And we don't know what you value. And I don't know that you don't want this water filtration system. You know, maybe you've been getting rashes from chlorine and you don't even know it, what's in your water. So for us to do a thorough job and test that for you and present you with what an option could be to take care of that, to me, I cannot see any way that that's unethical. And like you said, I would even go the other way. If we don't talk to you about what we could fix for you, or
I'm not even doing my job at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, if we can do something that your house needs and I don't talk to you about it, I haven't effectively done my job.
Right. Yep. And you don't go to, most people, I don't think, would enjoy going to a restaurant where you were told what meal you should eat that day. You want to look at the menu.
Yeah, it's not cool, man.
No. And I think part of it too for us is like, as a technician, you're a guy that works with your hands. To you, these problems seem small, and you know, you're probably going to try to fix that yourself, or you might appreciate somebody telling you how to fix something yourself rather than just providing a high level of service and taking care of it for you.
That's what they wanted. They call the expert to solve a problem that they have identified they can't solve.
Yes, exactly.
So let's do our job. And give them the options, let them take care of it. I mean, that type of logic makes sense, but the emotion that's there when you're with the customer, I get it, because they're panicked. And now the empathy happens.
For sure.
And so coaching through that, there's a lot, and it's ongoing, I'm realizing. But in order to drive revenue, we have to set all these relationships and emotions over here and understand, hey, for this business to be successful, we have to bring in revenue.
Yes.
And my guess is in an effort to grow the revenue, you're doing things like defining this process, creating these options. But then we're also talking about adding lines of service, which this gets exciting.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about like the thought process there for you. Like what got you to, we're adding HVAC?
Well, there was one specific customer that called that had an issue with their water heater and an issue with their furnace. And we said, hey, I've got a great referral for you for the furnace. We can come take out the water heater or take care of the water heater for you.
Yeah.
And they didn't want that. They wanted one company to take care of both. And as a consumer, I could understand that. You don't want to have to coordinate 2 appointments and different companies and just too many variables.
Yep.
So that was one. I've kind of always had some interest in that side of it. I've learned, a fair amount of by fixing my own heating and cooling systems. And to me, I'm like, it's really not that different. There's a lot of crossover. There's times where, a heating and cooling company might go out, realize that the problem is a plumbing problem,
is there
or vice
different
versa.
licensing here too then?
Yeah.
Instead of 4-year degree like plumbing.
It's a little different with HVAC. It's easier to get into with HVAC.
So now we're talking about like you're adding a whole line of service that all the customers you're servicing, they might have an issue with that. They're going to have an issue at some point.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And that lead is going to occur again. So really you're doubling your opportunity,
right?
If you can capitalize. But what are some of the things you're running into that are like hurdles that you have to overcome to make that transition?
Good question. So far, it's been we found some really good people. Because that is not my expertise. I'm learning about it every day, and it will be at some point, but it's not yet. So finding the right people to put in the right places that know what I need to know. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that.
Now it's just cross-selling.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And just, training our employees to, hey, we can look at your furnace too. We can look at your AC as well. There's plenty of times where we come into a job and there might be duct work that's shared between heating and the water heater or something like that. Like at the end of the day, they're not that different. Like even a furnace and a water heater use a lot of the same technology
in most houses.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
So then are you going to have the same technicians do that service then?
We have a few guys that want to be cross-trained to be able to do both. So we probably will at some point for sure. There's certain things that like my guys already know how to do. We already work with gas, which is a big part of the heating component. So we definitely will have a certain amount of the staff that's cross-trained to be able to do both. And I'm sure we'll have guys that don't want to touch plumbing and they just want to do heating and cooling and vice versa.
So is this going to add to the differentiation between you and other plumbing companies?
Yeah, I believe it should, and help us to be more of a one-stop shop for whatever home services you need.
So are you going to market HVAC then too?
Yeah.
Fascinating. So you're starting another business pretty much.
More or less.
And the only overlap is the fact that you guys service their homes.
Yep.
These are fun problems to solve.
They are,
right?
Yeah.
Because I know like coming into Abracadabra, like one of the first things I did is we added mosquito control.
Sure.
Right. Like these customers have issues. They think I freaking do it anyway.
Yeah.
So let's do it.
Yeah.
And now that's like a whole route. It's a good chunk of our revenue during the summer. But you got to have cojones to do that, man. Because that's like a big...
Yeah. I mean,
it's
truthfully,
a big what if. So it's not like you just like, I'm fire this up over here.
Yeah. It's the first like major change that I have helped implement within the company.
All right. So my first major change, not quite as cool as yours. My first one was we need to go digital. We're like, we can't be running off of paper anymore.
Sure.
Were you guys out of the paper phase when you came in, or did you have to phase that out?
We actually did that as well.
Oh my God. It still exists. This is fascinating. Like how does a business do that? Because that was 2021.
Yeah, 20.
That's wild to me. Talk about,
let's see,
things getting in the way of a customer service experience.
Yeah. April of 22 is actually when we finally switched out from paper.
So I would say that was the first.
Good point.
Like, let's not downplay this, because
I kind of forget about it.
Like,
but
that part of things. Like, I remember driving, answering the phone. Customer has a question about their account. I don't have any of the information. Like, it's not.
Oh, it's tough.
Like, now I got 6 hours of a customer waiting for me to get, like,
go dig
that's
something
when I was
out.
like, we need to be done with this.
Yeah.
I need to be able to access it wherever.
Yeah.
Are there still plumbing companies that are paper?
Yeah. There's more of it in the trades than you would think. What
customer wants to do business that way nowadays?
That's a great question. I can't imagine that anybody's too excited about it. I mean, we do still have customers that don't have an email address, or at least they're not willing to share it with us, but I believe them.
Nah, I don't.
And they,
everyone's got emails.
We mail out invoices for customers still, like weekly. We send out at least a couple. And I don't know. I guess it's what you're comfortable with.
Well, and like, not to mention, you can only switch so many things in your business at one time.
Right.
It's like timing of that when you're where you're at. Like, we've talked about culture shifts. We've talked about hiring shifts. We've talked about branding changes. Like, there's so much that's there. Like, thinking about like what comes first, and then also having your family as partners in the background. Like, how do you handle that day to day? Because that might be the most loaded question I've ever asked.
It probably is. It probably is. And my answer might be a little rambly, but yeah, I guess it's tough. In one aspect, like when I kind of first started helping out my dad with the business, like in my early 20s, I had gone and done some other jobs and realized like maybe plumbing's not so bad. And coming back into it, at that point, I felt like I had all these ideas, and I'm like, God, this is going to be great. We can do this, this, and this. And then you kind of get into the daily grind, realize like how hard it is to steer that ship. Yeah. Right. And part of it for me, honestly, has been just getting myself to think that way again and look at processes and look at, like you kind of mentioned, the sacred cow that's there. We don't know why it's there. We've just always done it this way.
We got to shoot them in the head though, man.
Yeah.
Because really what it is you just got to think about a different way to solve that problem.
Right.
Like invoicing. We don't have to do it via paper.
We don't have to do
it. But that's how it's been done for 40 years. Yeah. So until somebody says, why are we doing it this way?
Right.
It just keeps happening.
Yeah. And and nobody knows why.
But those are the opportunities in business.
They are, for sure.
That people are walking around asking like, how? I don't know. Like, what am I doing? Well, you got to change something.
Right.
Something has to die, and there has to be a new iteration of the solution.
Yep. And it's probably not going to be seamless.
No.
You might start a fire that you end up having to put out too.
Good thing we know some plumbers. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Start some leaks. We'll take care of the fire.
Yeah.
So what are your goals then for the business?
The biggest one to me is, adding services, being able to be more of a one-stop shop for people, elevating our level of service that we're offering to people, and growth. And I'd love to be competing with those guys that are on the billboards everywhere and be one of the premier companies.
It sounds like you already are.
In a certain way, maybe.
Right. It might. So it might be just how you're thinking about even that.
Yeah, that could be part of it. Long-term goal for me is I would love to get our processes to a place where I can step away from it.
What are you going to do when you snowmobile again?
I still got to figure that out. There is a pro plus 30 class.
Okay. I feel like
that could happen.
Do I got any potential? Probably not. I don't.
We can go out for a practice day.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
that'd be
for
fun.
Sure.
But, I'll take you up on that. But you don't have a snowmobile for yourself right now, which is funny. Like,
crazy.
Was there something bad that happened where you're like, I'm done with this sport?
Kind of. So I got Lyme disease, and that
from a tick.
Yeah. Yep. And it really messed up my immune system. Like,
it'll do that.
How I don't know when I got bit by a tick. I have no idea when I got it, how long I've had it or anything. But the end result was that like snowcross as a sport is actually a lot more physically demanding than most people would think.
Tick in the middle of the winter.
Yeah. Which weirdly enough, like my symptoms started in like December too, which is like really strange. So I don't know
This is why we do
when it
mosquito
happened.
tick control, guys.
Exactly. Yeah. Should have called abracadabra.
Well,
But, so I got sick and I never really got better. And I was trying to get back to training and everything. And I was just getting sicker and weaker and weaker. And so I think this would have been the 2019. And at that point, it was like February. I'd gotten sick in December and been to a bunch of doctors, antibiotics, all this stuff, and they couldn't really pinpoint or tell me what was wrong. And at that point, I'm like, okay, well, I can't ride at the level that I need to. I could do 2 laps fast and then I'd just fall off.
really?
I couldn't train during the week. Like when I was at my peak, I would, we'd race on the weekend and I would be on a sled 3+ days a week. And when I'm not on a sled, gym days, whatever, like pretty high activity level. And I couldn't sustain anything close to the level that I needed to. So I'm like, okay, let's reset. I sold my stuff. At that point, I was not on a team. And so it was just me and my dad, and I had a mechanic, and we kind of all sat down and was like, look, this isn't going good. So I decided to be done for that season. We still had 4 or 5 more races or something at that point, but I'm like, I can't do it. So why am I out there? And at that point, I just had no clue how long it could take for something like that to get better. In that world, I'd like broken bones, I'd broken my leg, all sorts of stuff. Right. And it's like 6 to 8 weeks. Like maybe if you do an ACL, it's like 3 to 6 months. Like that's no way I'm not better in 6 months. And so at that point, I got an offer to ride for a team again the next year. And I'm like, sweet, let's do it. I should be better by midsummer. I'll be able to train. I'll be back where I need to be. And that didn't pan out. I was a little bit better and I was really fighting through it that, this was my dream. This is what I always wanted to do, getting a pretty good opportunity to do it again. Like I got to fight and do everything I can. And
did you know it was Lyme disease at
that point? I did. Yep.
So there's a test where they're like, let's try this. And they identified it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of it's a goofy world. Like that's a rabbit hole I could talk to you about for 3 hours.
Dude, like I'd live in that rabbit hole kind of.
Yeah, for sure. So like the normal test that you get from a regular doctor that you go into is they get a ton of false negatives. So I got that test and they said, nope, you're good. But the clue was that I had a different tick-borne illness and that one came up as positive. And so they gave me antibiotics for that.
Is it the one where you can't eat red meat?
No, it wasn't that one.
That would be a bummer.
That would be brutal. So I got a positive for that. And the treatment is very similar to like what a regular doctor gives you for Lyme disease, which doesn't work for most people. But so they gave me antibiotics and I started taking them and I'm like, wow, I feel amazing. And I felt like myself again. And that lasted about a week. And then I was right back kind of to where I started. And the doctor that I was seeing said, hey, because there was one tick-borne illness, there's a high likelihood that you have Lyme too. And it's just not.
Let's run the good test on you this time.
Well, they don't even do it. Like I had to go to
like a specialist.
A specialist.
As a tick testing specialist?
Yeah. Yep. And like a $1,500 out-of-pocket test that's not covered by your insurance to find out that I had it.
This is fascinating.
Yeah. Don't sleep on the ticks,
I thought it might have been a thumb injury that knocked you off. Or some guy beat you for like the 6th year in a row. But that's way more serendipitous to this conversation. Well, right. So are you sad that happened?
Yeah. Yeah. It was really tough on me at first.
Yeah. I mean, that's your life.
That's my dream. Like, so I'm feeling like I got to where I wanted to go, right? Like I'm finally here. And there was a lot of weird stuff. Like I always worked really hard at it. I wasn't the most talented by any means, but I always felt like I could grit my way through it. Right. And I was getting to the point where like normally the end of the race, when everybody's getting tired, that's when I could start making passes. Like if I didn't start towards the front, I could start to make progress. And then that kind of flip-flopped. And I started really falling off bad at the end of races. And I didn't know why. I was confused. Like my trainers were like, I don't get it. You're doing the work. Like what's going on? So in a certain sense, it was like almost a relief to know like, okay, there is actually something here and I'm not just lazy or whatever. So that summer,
what an ego hit that is.
Yeah, huge. And so that summer I ended up like, I was a little bit better. I was back to where I could do a little bit of training, and I convinced myself like I can race. And I kind of talked to my team about it. They knew where I was at. They knew I was recovering. They're like, well, let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
And the second race back, then I tore my ACL. And the reason I believe is because I was out of shape. Like I couldn't do what I needed to do. And I didn't even crash. I landed hard off a jump, and my knee bent the wrong way. And fractured my tibia plateau and my ACL.
Let me ask you this. If all that didn't happen, would you be where you're at right now, do you think?
I'm sure things would look different. That's one of the things that in a certain sense, I think maybe things do happen for a reason. And that was something where it made me step back a little bit and think about where my family was at, where our business was at, like what is plan B in a certain sense. So the other side of that was really tough. And like, I'm still not 100% from when I got Lyme disease. Like I would say I'm probably 60%.
Damn.
And so in business, that's really tough.
That's bad.
Like for a while, I did absolutely nothing outside of work hours. Like I would get my work done. I get home, I would crash.
Wow.
And I'm better than that now. I'm not significantly better, but I'm on a better path. Shout out to Dr. Brad at the Hope Clinic. He's been the first doctor that's really made a difference for me. So been working with him for about a year, and I feel like I'm on that trajectory where maybe I could go back and race again at one point if everything seems right. I don't want to force that if it's not meant to be either. There's definitely a desire in me. I love it. It's what I grew up doing. It's what I chased forever. But
you're kind of in a different chapter at this point with all your focus going in this other direction.
Definitely. So,
there's so much potential in second generation coming in and taking over a company. Like the studies show crazy growth rates for family owned businesses. Yeah. So it really comes down to what us as leaders, what we're thinking about, what our goals are. And for a young man that's going through like early 30s, like that's still a period of a lot of change for people. Definitely. So being able to have people behind you that are relying on you to make decisions, like that's a lot. That's a lot there. So my guess is you're a lot like me, and you're like, we're taking this all the way up, and we're gonna keep growing and scaling. I'm not just gonna sit back here and try to snowmobile. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Do you have any advice out there for people that are kind of in a second generation scenario where they're either about to take it over or they just took it over, like things that you could give advice on maybe?
I'll do my best here. I feel like I don't look at myself as like I should be giving advice yet, because I definitely haven't done what I want to do.
You're an expert. You've been working in the business for that many years in a family-owned business. In a certain sense.
I think like a lot of it comes back to you and your own personal growth. There's no magic pill for anything. Yeah. And I think just kind of trying to be relentless and not giving up. And you got to decide that's really what you want to do too. And if it's not what you really want to do, you're probably best off to look at other options. If you're doing it because you think you have to, or because you think that somehow you're letting somebody down if you don't do it, I don't think that's a great place to start. Maybe some people can use that for motivation, though. But I think you got to decide, where are you at? And if you half-ass it, you're doing a disservice to everyone that works for you, everyone involved in what you're doing, and even to your customers. Yeah. So you either got to decide you're all in or you're not. I think that's probably the biggest one I would come back to.
That's good, because now you can actually set like a vision for where you're trying to go. Yeah. Right. Because working hard, just work hard in a question mark for a direction just doesn't make sense. But I talk to business owners all the time where like they have a business and there's things going well, but like they don't even know what they really want for their life. Yeah. Or for their family. Asking that question. So in 5 years, like what's the perfect world look like for you and your family? Not even your business. Like put that over there. Like, let's build this for you and your family and what you want it to look like. Cause that's the creative power that an entrepreneur or business owner has. But you got to ask yourself that question and like sit in it for a little bit and process. It's not the easy, like, yep, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, no, it's a journey.
So that's probably the best advice for anybody that's in that scenario. Start there. And then there's other things that can come up, but if you don't even know what you want, let's not even talk about talking to mom and dad about buying it or what. Like you gotta really want this, not just like, know it's there and there's money and that's what you want, because you can get money anyway.
There's a lot of ways, right?
Would you change anything about the last 2.5 years?
In a perfect world, yes. But in reality, I think a lot of what we've kind of gone through is stuff that has helped make me who I am today. Yeah. The biggest thing, I wish I would have found Dr. Brad sooner, to be honest, because having some health, nothing matters. You know, I was at a point where I was honestly really depressed, because it's like, even if I do have all the success I want and have all the money to do anything I want to do, I don't even feel good enough to want to go on vacation or go do anything cool. So, you know, if I were to find a way to get my health back sooner, that would have been a big deal. You know, just in the last year, I'm so much happier today than I was a year ago. And a lot of it is just because I don't feel like shit.
Well, that's important, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. Protect your health. Take care of yourself.
Anything else you want to tell the people listening? Any type of advice or words of wisdom?
I don't know if I've got anything else really. I hope people have enjoyed getting to hear my story a little bit.
Yeah, man, you got an awesome story and the legacy you're carrying on. I'm really excited to see what you do, because, dude, it's literally tip of the iceberg, and you could mess it up for like 5 years and still you're only 36. Yeah. Like you got, and so the runway is really like the risk reward. This is a time where you kind of can gamble a little bit. So that's exciting. And you've got a track record of success. So inevitably that's what's going to happen.
Something's going to work out.
The journey to get there, that's what it's really about. It's that end goal is like, it changes along the way sometimes, but one question we ask everybody: what's hustle mean to you? Especially in terms of your business. Yeah,
absolutely. To me, hustle is just whatever it is that makes you not give up. And I could apply that in racing or business or whatever. You're going to make mistakes. Bad things are going to happen, and you get dealt a certain hand, and what are you going to do with it? And not worrying too much about what bad happened, but what are we going to do today? And what can we put everything we have into today to make a better future?
That's good. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for joining us. This was great. You got an awesome business. We're going to keep referring you like we always do. Thanks everybody for listening, watching. Appreciate all the questions coming in. If you want to like, subscribe, share it with a friend. We got a ton of great guests like Andrew that are going to be on in the future. So stay tuned, and thanks for all the support. Until next time, keep hustling.
Do you have nonstop pest or rodent problems? Our gold package is for you. Get 4 regularly scheduled services a year and coverage for pests and insects. Call now at 763-328-0156 or scan the QR code to learn more.
Thanks again for joining us on Homegrown Hustle. Our local business community thrives because of the brilliant leaders right here in our backyard. And it's been an absolute privilege to provide them with a platform to share their invaluable expertise. Stay tuned for more insight, wisdom, and inspiration from our local business champions. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Together, we'll continue to nurture and expand our homegrown success stories. Matt Eichmann signing off until our next insightful episode.